It was sweet in 2017. It was so sweet on Sunday night. Much different victory, and maybe the best victory for Miami football since that epic night at Hard Rock. Appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. Miami wins over Notre Dame 27-24 to kick off 2025 in grand fashion with one of the best wins of the weekend. Heck of a ball game. And we will dive into it, of course, with Cam Underwood from State of the U. Catch Cam and the rest of the staff there at thestateoftheu.com each and every day. Back here with Cam and myself every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Cam, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It is a great day. It is always great to be a Miami Hurricane. And validation, sweet, sweet validation.
I feel as though after victories like this, and there haven't been many during our time together, not to this degree, that I would be remiss and I would be hijacking your glory if I did not just kind of kick back and let you pontificate to start the show. And then I will dive into some details that I would like to have specified.
Okay. Say less. Number one, go Canes. You see it on the shirt. I know you can hear my microphone anyway, but I just wanted to, man, like, come on. Look, this is what we're talking about. This is what it needs to look like. I wrote it in the good, the bad, the ugly. This is what we've been waiting for under Mario Cristobal. And in general, as Mark said, there have been precious few major wins. But, I mean, there's been more than we think about. Well, not really. Well, I mean, there have been some big wins, but not a preponderance of them, especially with, 2018 was a flop after 2017. I mean, there were big wins back-to-back, Saturday night ABC games that year, Virginia Tech being the first one leading into the epic Notre Dame beatdown in 2017. And this backs up and supports everything that I said and others leading up to this game. Sorry, 1 second. Even on here, so look, Mario Cristobal has built this program, in his image, which is going to be big dudes close to the ball and being bullies on both sides of the ball. I was on here saying this is the matchup of the arguably two best offensive lines in the country, and Miami might be number two. But I thought Notre Dame was one with a bullet. We took their fucking lunch. I mean, we bullied them like some little children. You saw what Ruben Bain did to that right tackle at the end of the game. You got a dude out there doing jumping jacks, turning around, looking like he was one of the defensive linemen. I mean, just a chop and a shove. I mean, I saw one of my good friends, I'm not going to call his full name, on Twitter. It's AMV. So shout out to you, buddy. He's a fellow Michigander and Lions fan, and he said, as somebody who had to sit through this in the early 90s, that looked like Reggie White on those last couple pass rushes from Ruben Bain. The way he moved, and it wasn't the same hump move, but the chop and then just the get out. What? That Ruben Bain right there, and I said it after the first drive. I said, he's in the backfield all day. They're going to have to change something because they can't stop this man. And if he looks like himself again, which is what I've been saying, that changes everything. Not only does he look like himself, Akeem Mesidor looks like 2022. He's slimmed down. It's live for him because he's not as chunky, but like broad chest, good posture, and he just looks like a healthy version of himself now. And that guy was out there hooping. Offensive line did pretty much what they wanted. It was, as Mario Cristobal himself said, probably the best game of complimentary football that we've had at the University of Miami under Cristobal, which I agree with. I see people in the chat talking about Leroy the Black Ninja Turtle. What about the wide receiver core? What about them? Buddy, I know we're going to get into it later. Malachi Tony, that at every iteration of every single thing, and y'all know that I'm not there on a daily basis. You know what I mean? Like at practice and da-da-da. But everything from what has been out there that I personally saw, that I heard from others, or that I read in other places or consumed as other people's content, categorically, since this man has been on campus, I said, matter of time. Matter of time. This is the guy. I know that we're, talking about Ray Joseph and the battle. This is the guy. They call him Baby Jesus for a reason. You know what I mean? He won the Nat Moore Award as the best high school player in South Florida as a 17-year-old junior who reclassed up over all of the 4 and 5 stars from South Florida. It's Miami-Dade and Broward for that award. Buddy. He won American Heritage, a state championship at quarterback. And I mean, he looked like Tutu Atwell out there, who was a legendary high school quarterback, but was never going to play, beyond high school. Malachi Toney, who was a legendary quarterback, at the Optimus level, he got out there, ... in the state championship game. Like, that was his job. And then you get out there and you see what he did. That first touchdown, that was preparation and effort meeting opportunity. He was running an over route. He saw Carson flush to his left as a right-handed quarterback. He said, okay, I know what to do. I'm going to flatten that route out because going deeper is not the move with a right-handed quarterback going left. And then after I flatten it out, I'm going to work all of the way. That's all that it was. It wasn't even a supreme athletic feat, even though he was a great athlete. That was preparation meeting an opportunity. I'm going to flatten that route out, and I'm going to work, and I'm going to work, and I'm going to work, and I'm going to get there because I worked on that route. You want to talk about the wide receiver core? Catch of the year already. We had an amazing Cam Ward to Jacoby George last year in the opener at Florida. They said that's going on the Heisman reel. I don't know that he's going to be up for the Heisman or the Biletnikoff, but CJ Daniels, catch of the year. Incredible. Increíble. It's up on the website. And also, everybody was talking about, that's not the craziest catch we've seen from him, by the way. Pre-game, I saw the receivers working on one-handed snatch catches. Like, they were doing fades, and then they would get to a kind of catch point, and then they would right hand, left hand. Like, it was very intentionally a skill-building thing during warm-ups. And I cryptically tweeted about it because I wasn't expecting a one-handed catch like that. But I said, they're working on something specific in the technique. And I really thought that was because Notre Dame secondary is incredible, right? So they were going to have to get to a spot and then flash a singular late hand to try to make a catch because Notre Dame secondary is among the best, if not the best in the country. And I said, and multiple people, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I said, if I see it, if it happens in the game, I'll say it, right? Malachi Toney went for a couple when he got pass interfered with that weren't called on those fades. I didn't put it out there then. I didn't say that. And then he made that catch. And I said, oh my God. And then I tweeted it. If you go on stateoftheu.com, please come fan with us right now. Well, not right now, but when you're done watching this. Up on the feed, our new interactive social tool, which you can use there to, interact and talk about Canes. I've been posting some short things. There is the video that CJ Daniels gave to Canes Insight of this legendary catch from practice that we'd all heard about and none seen. It is a diving, leaping, one-handed catch, mossing 2 dudes in practice that it's infinitely better than the one that you saw on Sunday. And I know that's crazy. I know that sounds crazy. I know, because when I heard people talking about this after the game, Carson, coach, talking about, oh yeah, like we've seen him do something crazier. No, you lying. You're glazing. This is hyperbole. Go watch it. And I've retweeted it on my Underwood Sports and the State of the U Twitters as well from, the other entity that got the film. It is stupid. And so, like, now that backs up what we've heard of Malachi, well, not specifically, but Malachi Toney and Joshua Moore and Joe Trader, and they're doing these things behind closed doors, because now everybody's been talking about this play from CJ Daniels, and then bang, we got the practice footage from the spring. And Carson Beck talked about it today. He said, I wasn't even playing, and I was there at the practice watching it, going crazy, because he misremembered a little bit, Carson, when he was talking about it today. He said, yeah, I think he jumped over like 3 dudes or something. It was 2 dudes, but still incredibly impressive. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, this was, just obviously we have tons of great content over on State of the U. I every week write the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like, this was what it needed to look like. Physically, the defense overall, just, that looks like a Miami defense. Cover 2 shell, a little bit of zone, a lot of bit of man, beat you up front, linebackers flowing to the ball. Moture looking really good. Had that terrible, terrible coverage break. And Corey Heatherman said it. Everybody's asking, well, what happened? One guy went out of coverage. That's it. And if you watch the play, you see it. He tried to chuck him and then got undisciplined with his eyes. He got caught up in the underneath game, but he's supposed to be playing man-to-man. You ain't got to worry about it. So this is what we talk about with everybody on the field needing to do their job. 10 guys did. Number 1, on that 65-yard throw to the tight end, he got caught with eye candy and said, okay, let me be a hero, or let me go. I think I could go do something else. I could be. Don't do that. Don't do that. There were few breakdowns on the defense, things that we got to get caught up. A thing that I mentioned, or I asked Trevor about last week, about CJ Carr being integrated into the run game, and said, well, that's probably not going to happen. But then it did, and everybody said, well, Corey Heatherman, even on like the draw for the touch, or the touchdown run, he said, we were not really prepared for him to run. We were prepared on defense for something else that play. They zagged and we zigged and they caught us. But that's the thing that I brought up. So like, that also shows that, like, hey, I'm kind of attuned to how things go, guys, in football. This is why I asked that question, because I've seen mobile quarterbacks have some success against Miami, in the past. But yeah, overall, very strong. I got very strong grades. I do think that there was a measure of conservatism after Miami went up 21-7. Got us 3 and out right after going up 21-7. I need points on that drive right there, because it was the last 5 minutes of the first half, save 12 seconds, right? Boom, go to the half, get the ball back, take up half of the third quarter, walk down and score 12 plays, 75 yards, right? Now, and then you get a 3 and out right after that. I got to have a score. All of those 3 and outs consecutively left the door open. Was a little bit too conservative, I think. But also, Notre Dame's secondary is really good. And on top of them being really good, the refs let them play. I hated it because they got away with a bunch of pass interferences that were clear as day. They tackled a couple dudes. I get where people hated the bad boy Pistons and like the 04 Pistons, because they let us play on the defensive end. You know what I mean? And it looked in the secondary like that. They let them do all kinds of stuff, bro. And with the quality of their secondary, we weren't just going to go bombs over Baghdad. We tried one true deep shot to JoJo, great PBU. We tried one to Malachi Toney. He got interfered with by the safety, no call. We tried a slot fade to Toney. He got tackled, no call. We tried another one to Toney. He got tackled, no call. And then we tried one at the end up the sideline to Keelan Marion. He got tackled, and they finally called it. But those were the 5 vertical shots that I can, of all of the throws. You're not going to go bombs over Baghdad. But you got to do a little bit more than what we're doing. You know, this is where we come, and I've said before, inside zone, inside zone, inside zone, inside zone. There were a couple of times, and I had to go back and watch because Shannon Dawson said, yo, we went to wide zone stuff, and it started to create some lanes, and we started to crease them. That 15-yard run that Mark Fletcher had running over somebody and whatever, go back and that was actually wide zone. It wasn't like super outside to the sideline, but it was still wide zone, not inside. Great. Just need a little bit more diversity there. At the end of the game, I get where there's somebody who said, put up a thing, and I'm going to end it here, where Mario Cristobal was upset or said, well, it looked like he didn't know that Notre Dame had a timeout left on the third down play, The referee did not apply an injury timeout to Notre Dame after second down that they should have, because a player, after the ball was spotted, because it was an inside run, so the ball's right there, which is the rule now, in case you don't know. If you go down after the ball is spotted, timeout on your team, offense, defense, whichever one, right? This is the, the Lane Kiffin, no fake injuries. If you remember from when that stupid FIU game in 2019, that the Butch Davis, like, we're just going to go down and stop the momentum. It's that rule to combat it. Notre Dame player went down late. They did not call the injury timeout, which would have been Notre Dame's third. And then Miami ran the ball. They called their third, fourth, whatever timeout. And Chris Paul was just like, yo, what WTF going on? I get his consternation because that should have been a running clock there. And then Miami can take it down even further than it was for the Carter Davis kick. Some operational issues that definitely need to get ironed out. I see all of your questions and super chats and stickers and everything. Excuse me. I think that let me just make sure that there are none that were directly in response to something. Falconer TRX, appreciate that. Miami players watch tape and can make reads. We were very, 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 very well prepared. I love that for me. And I wrote a piece today saying that the kind of preparation and consistency of performance is now the next step. Winning a big game, we've done that. But yeah, we need to do more. Was Dawson too conservative late in the game? Yes and no. We did walk down the field to get into that position. Would have liked something else, but also I get where he is coming from. And he said it himself. He said, look, we go over 2 minutes. And every player and coach who spoke after the game said the same thing. Team works 2 minutes. The 2-minute drill, offense, defense, incessantly, because situational football is key. And he said, cool. I needed them to use all their timeouts. We had faith in our kicker to be able to do that. That's where I'm a little But also, on the back end, with no timeouts, having to go the full field, they're going to have to contend with that pass rush. And a sack in 2-minute drill is basically about 30 seconds lost. So that was the calculus. I like the fact that Miami did make Notre Dame use all their timeouts, so they didn't have that extra support for their last drive. But yeah, just having 9 in the box and saying, cool, we're going to run inside zone or power or whatever, run game call you want to call it, inside into the mass of bodies of a very, very physically talented Notre Dame defense. Even if we're moving them off the ball, everybody's crashing down, linebackers, safeties, corners, and everything. Would have liked maybe a little bit more than that. That is what I will say. I'll leave it with this one. Falconer TRX. What happened to the short routes that Xavier Restrepo owned? Welcome to the show, Malachi Tony. Those whip routes with incredible footwork. And I mean, it looked like he was open by, 8-10 yards of lateral space. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that was where it was. And we tried to hit some other guys on some of those other kind of routes and everything. Again, just Notre Dame is very good. And yeah, but it was mainly, if you look at Malachi Tony, I know that Restrepo was here for 5 years and has all of the records of, accumulation. Malachi Tony is the upgrade athletically and skill-wise to Restrepo doing the same thing. So he's a little bit bigger. He's quicker in short areas. He's faster, has at least as good of hands. And from what I see, the same, if not better, playmaking ability. That's where it went. So yeah, it went to number 10. But that is my soliloquy. I will bring Mark back in, and we can dive into some content.
All right, so I'm going to play host again here. Here we go. Cam and I here every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We appreciate you being here. Comments and questions are welcome. We appreciate the Super Chat contributions that many of you leave there. Thank you so much for that. Falconer TRX getting us started, as always, with the super sticker. Thank you so much for that, Falconer TRX. I will be getting to some promotional initiatives a little bit later, and maybe we'll start with one of those right now, and then we will get to your Super Chat questions, and then I've got a number of questions I have as well for Cam.
Yes,
in dissecting this game to another level. So we'll be back here in just a second, and keep in mind when you watch this little promotional initiative, 15-7 for this kid against the spread thus far this year. So check out my picks on the betting tier. College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the voice of college football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the voice of college football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now. So we appreciate you all being here. If you're watching us on Twitter, we appreciate and love it that you found us on X/Twitter, but we're going to cut off that feed. That's what we've been doing here with many of the recent shows, just to let you know, hey, we are here on YouTube. We would love to have you here in the chat participating on YouTube. So we give you a bit of a taste, and we're going to cut that off in just a second. So please, again, join us on YouTube here at the Voice of College Football Miami. All right. Obviously, Cam, if you see some questions, pop them up there. Otherwise, let's start with one Carson Beck, because we didn't say too much about him.
And I didn't, but I should have. I'm going to run through all of these really quickly because I want to, honor what was said. Falconer TRX, Miami Hurricanes undefeated. Yeah. And I wrote about the change in odds from our friends at FanDuel. All the numbers, all the odds have improved across the board. In the summer, I think it was June that I wrote it, maybe May, over-under for the season was 8.5. Pretty much across the board. Come to July, the end of July coming into August, that number was 9.5. After this win, over-under 10.5. So basically, this is a full game swing to the outlook of the program for the season, because everybody, in the lead up, like we've been talking about, was thinking and saying, okay, Miami's going to lose to Notre Dame, and then what do they do the next 11 games? You win that game against last year's national runner-up, the ceiling just gets higher. Excuse me. Carson Beck now has the third shortest odds to win the Heisman. In terms of the ACC, Miami's odds have improved. They're still behind Clemson there. And more. All this up on stateoftheu.com. But yeah, undefeated right now. And yeah, this was obviously a big hurdle. Tyson Tracy can't wait to head back for the Florida game, possibly game day, and we want all the smoke. These Florida teams, South Florida, and FSU line it up. Yeah, there's a non-zero chance that if Miami and Florida are both undefeated in a couple of weeks, this is your game day game. So, and there's plenty of storylines there. So yeah, that would be pretty great if we made that happen. Leroy the Black Ninja Turtle, second today. Falconer taking his winning streak back at the top of the comments and with the sticker and everything. Falconer said, yeah, again, it'll be epic there. CG, I don't like talking about the refs, but man, they were so bad and integrated themselves into the performance or into the results of the game in the third quarter. I think through 3 quarters, there were 6 penalties called, 5 on Miami, 4 of them on the drive that got Notre Dame to 21-14. Like, come on. Now, also, Miami should have gotten off the field on the first third down before any of these penalties. But like, I thought that they were really, really bad. I would have absolutely lost my ever-loving mind had they not called all of the intentional groundings against CJ Carr. Like, it was just, I don't know. He just loved to ground the ball. Like, it was very apparently obvious. It'll be just to your live eye. There was that. I want to see if there was anything else. Marquise Lightfoot is fast as hell. Look, man. Yeah. He was in there on the late pass rush NASCAR package. It was 3, 4, 12, and 8. Yeah, 3, 4, 12, and 18. So Mesidor, Bain, Lightfoot, and inside Armando Blunt. That's your go get it pass rush package. GG's trying to do that. But yeah, I will let Mark host there because I don't see any other questions. Let's talk about Carson Beck, Mark.
So you mentioned the throw that he made to Malachi Toney and how Toney was able to adjust the route based on what Beck was facing in the pocket. I was impressed with the throw as well because, as you mentioned, he was backpedaling to his left and making a difficult throw for a right-handed quarterback that had to move in the pocket in the opposite direction and sling it. He also made 2 throws that I don't know how many people noticed this. They were 2 incomplete passes, but there were 2 times on 2 occasions he was being literally thrown to the ground and was in the process of being thrown to the ground. And his head, his rear end, his back weren't more than 10 or 12 inches off the ground. And he just chucked the ball, which in the moment, my thought process was, this guy's a veteran. Why is he just throwing the ball aimlessly down the field? But he missed these guys' hands by like 6 inches both times, like 40 yards downfield.
Yeah, no, he's Carson Beck and hoop. And I think that we saw that again from him. Everybody, again, I've been saying it, the pendulum swung too far on him. I get where people are coming from, that he had some bad performances and was not helped by a bad offensive line, the worst run game, the second worst run game in the SEC, and the worst run game that Georgia's had in 30 years. And a metric ton of drops last year. He was not helped by any of those things, but he never, like, his talent didn't disintegrate. You know what I mean? Like, it's not Austin Powers. They didn't just steal his mojo and he couldn't do these things. But, it was clear, I think, with the joy that you saw from Carson, the love of the game, the happiness that his body exuded, and that he spoke about after the game. I just think, for whatever reason, he needed a new start from Georgia, which is why he left. And he's talking about having the love of the game again. He loves football again, loves this team, loves being around his guys. Look, you got Keontae Smith, another transfer player who I didn't even mention. He's patting him down after the game. It's like, hey, he got that thing on, like, he got a cannon, he got that gun on him. You know what I mean? Like, but like, just that you got a defensive player waiting around for the quarterback after interviews, doing celebrations and everything. It just, you can just see a light in him. Just the the weight of the world off of his shoulders, and going out there and being able to play. Very accurate, manage the game. He's been in these tough situations. This was not a first-time starting quarterback. After things went wrong, as they sometimes will, and the game was tied late, he said, cool, we're going to go down there, we're going to score. Not on some Matt Hasselbeck in the playoffs and throwing a pick six immediately to Al Harris after that. We're going to go down there, we're going to score. All right? So Malachi Tony, freshman, who's done it at the high school level, but never at this level. Trust me, do your job. We're going to go score. Marty Brown, welcome to the show. Up at the FBS level. Jerry Rice Award winner. I was telling people in the press box about my boy Brandon. Who's this number 6 Brown? He came from where? NFL scouts behind us. Shorts. Well, I'm not even going to give you the story. There were so many front office people from NFL teams that I got evacuated, or I got evicted from my normal seat because they like being in the third row of the press box areas to see more. So we all got pushed up into different seats than normal because it was a packed house. 4 GMs, 57 scouts or whatever. It was, and I hear them, they're like, well, who's this kid? And then all of a sudden when he starts running, wait, who is this kid? He needs to be on our radar for the future, right? He goes out there. He's doing the thing. It was just so great to see Carson go and play. And it wasn't perfect. And I know, and it looked a little different than Cam. Still 2/3 completions, only 200 and something yards and 2 touchdowns. But again, against probably the best secondary that we're going to have. It was just good to see him be himself. And he didn't have to go and do everything in week 1. Do I think that we're going to have some of those video game, pinball kind of numbers in the passing game across this season? Yes. But steady leadership, incredible performance, and leading this team to a win. I'm with it with Carson Beck. So yeah, felt good.
Can I pump the brakes on Malachi Tony just on one point? And I'm not saying that he will not accomplish this, sure, but everything that you just stated in regards to athleticism, speed, check. In terms of his hands, that part of it remains to be seen, and the consistency from week to week to week to week.
Fair, true, absolutely, I agree.
I am not going to cover anything that you haven't already, but maybe just a few details from an unbiased bystander, just watching the game. So we were about 2 drives into the game when I realized, okay, Miami's playing better football. Their offensive line is taking control. Their defensive line is taking control. So they're winning up front against the team that we know is supposed to be among the best at both of those line positions, top to bottom.
Yeah.
And Miami's winning, especially on the offensive side. And there was one particular play that I got a chuckle out of because Mark Fletcher ran it up the middle for 8 or 9 yards. Just boom. The hole was perfect. 8 or 9 yards. Samson Okunlola immediately just like grabbed him and headbutted him. And he was just ready. He wanted to just continue just steamrolling dudes.
Hey man, look, I love that for Samson, for Big Pancake. Rotating in at left guard, him and Matthew McCoy every single drive. This was the other 5-star 3 years ago, where Francis Mauigoa set it and forget it. He started every single game and played almost every single snap except for blowouts at right tackle since he's been here. Okunlola was working his way up the 2 deep, gets injured as a true freshman, red shirts, didn't really make an impact in year 2. In the 2 deep and everything, coming back and just with the quality of the offensive line. And now this guy is playing really well. And I mean, I think it's a competition between him and Matthew McCoy. I said that with McCoy at left guard, set it and forget it. And, people who went to practice talking about Okunlola. And then we had that picture a couple weeks ago of Okunlola with the ones at left tackle with Markel Bell in practice. And now you see it. I love it for him, because again, everybody wants all the 5 stars to be 5 stars from day one. You want the Malachi Tonys, you want the Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams, to step on the field. It's taken a little bit for Samson, but we're getting to the point where, I think he's starting to turn that corner. So yeah, that was really, really cool. Before we go on, Knox Kane 94, appreciate the super chat. $1 for George to say Lagway is going to kill us. $9 to ask. Defensive line game plan, 3/4 of the run game. Sorry, 3-4 game, run game, containment, turn loose. Oh, okay. So basically the defense for 3/4 of the game, the run game containment. They contain the run game really, really well. Like the traditional run game. I think that integrating the quarterback run changed the calculus, and it doing that found gaps that weren't otherwise there because the numbers change when the quarterback is the one running the ball, as opposed to the running back. Because like usually quarterback just hands it off that it's 11 against 10, but then it becomes 11 against 11, and things change. But yeah, they did a really, really good job. I said it before. Everybody said that Jeremiah Love is generational. I asked the question, is he better than 33 Truck and Josh Adams, who didn't do much in 2017? I leave the stat: 10 carries for 33 and probably more hurdles and spin move attempts than yards.
He loves to hurdle.
Right. Oh, I mean, look, it showed the athleticism. He didn't do nothing. And honestly, look, Jadarian Price, 6 carries for 45. That's cool. One of those carries was for 30. Another one of those was for 14.
Yeah.
So you have
I get your point, but those do count.
You have 5 carries for 15 outside of the one.
Oh, absolutely.
Which had guys, the edge was supposed to be set by the secondary on that play. Both guys jumped inside. He bounces it outside, tried to throw the deuces like he's Tyreek Hill, and still got caught. So what are we talking about? But curtailing the run game, I thought Miami did really, really well and physically took their heart away. And that was really key. Turn loose on, in passing situations, they got home. And yeah, at the end of the game, when you have to go vertical against this team, GG's, bro. Good luck blocking. And look, we know the 4 that were out there in the opener, in the NASCAR pass rush package. It could be them. It could be other dudes. Good freaking luck blocking this pass rush when they can pin their ears back and get up the field. These guys are hungry. These guys are healthy and very, very talented. So, it was really great to see them be able to be turned loose and then go make plays. And this is, I know that was the Mario Cristobal blueprint, basically. Tough game, get a 3-point lead, try to lean on the defense at the end. Let's just take a second. The intent was to lean on the defense at the end? Oh, my Lord. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but through one game, if that defense that we saw on Monday night or Sunday had been here last season, the things go differently. I very much think things go differently. If that team from Sunday night, I know that there's a full season, 11 games in front of us. I know there needs to be consistency of performance. I know that we had to replicate that over and over again, but this was a big step forward.
Few things to clean up here. I was just curious about Josh Adams' performance in the NFL. Now, Josh Adams was a really, really, really good college back, but anybody saying that he was the best back in the nation at the time was out of their mind. He had a productive first season in the NFL. He was there for 4 years, and after that did nothing. Anyway, he was a really good back. Jeremiah Love, I started to be amused by how many times he was trying to, that just became an almost every play deal downfield. My only point, I completely get your point about Jadarius Price and the yards per carry, and then the distribution of the yardage basically to one play. But I'm just saying that's how stats work to a certain extent. And if we took most decent rushing totals from running backs and took away their top 2 carries, it would significantly skew the numbers, change the numbers.
Well, I hear you, but I also just wanted to point out that I know that he had a good average, and I know that he had a couple of good plays. but like those were the plays in the run game. Like I still have the stats up. You know, I love to leave up the stats from the game. Jadarian Price's carries in order: 2 yards, 2 yards, 14. That was the one up the middle that Mesdor hit him at about 9 yards, and then he flew 5 yards forward on that big tackle. 1 yard, 30 yards, -4. So outside of 2 nice runs, 2, 2, 1, -4. Lockdown. You know what I mean? Like that was, yeah, it was. I just say that to say that the explosive or successful runs were the exception, very much not the rule. So you then take those, right? 2, 2, 1, -4. If I go over here and I click on Love, switch. Oh, I got to close the panel first. Yikes. Terrible. 1 yard, 8 yards. That was the one to the right side. 1 yard, 3 yards, 2 yards, 3 yards, 1 yard, no yards. And then late in the fourth quarter, 8 yards on one drive. And then 2 drives later, 6 yards.
Sure.
Nothing. We took their airway. We took we stole their water in the run game. Like it just wasn't there. And I get what you're saying, but like, yeah, it was consistently
absolutely
to that level, which is what we want to see.
No doubt. Yes, it was a near A+ in the rush defense category. I was just pointing that out. But yeah, no criticism there. You're not going to hold those guys down for every carry over the course of what did they have? 17 total carries. Last 2 points I'm going to make. One, Notre Dame related. I was impressed with CJ Carr, considering the circumstances, considering what his offensive line being overwhelmed much of the night, and his first start, hostile environment, all of that. I thought he played extremely well and did add that dimension that a lot of people didn't know he had.
Yeah, I thought that he was solid. I do think that there were a couple of things that we did give him. The scramble drill with Ahmad Moten put in a twisty, bendy situation. That's just tough. I mean, if it's pretty much any other defensive tackle, I think or defensive lineman, I think that play goes a little bit differently. And that player keeps his feet and, you kind of push him to CJ Carr to his right, because most of the receivers were going right to left. So when he scrambled that's why he scrambled to the left to find a receiver on that touchdown. That was only a 7-yard touchdown pass, but he was running back by the 35-yard line because of the immediate pressure, which also, shout out to Moten. He came on to the field late. And if you watch it, he's actually playing end and beats both the left tackle and left guard with a one-handed inside rush move. And that's how he got there because, late substitutions. So it's great that he got in that position, but then he got put in a twisty, bendy position that just was a little bit negative for him. But I love the effort. I love the pressure. Just got to finish that play a little bit better. But yeah, I think that CJ Carr, he was solid. I think that he has some talent. But I also think that we gave him some things by design, by not considering him in the QB run game that settled him. You know what I mean? Like he gets a 6-yard run for a first down, he gets hit. It's one of those things that a lot of people say, hey, the first time I get hit in the game, okay, it wakes me up, it puts me in, the adrenaline gets going and I'm kind of more focused. I think that happened with him a little bit. And yeah, but solid, and definitely in the face of the defense that we were had against him.
Then the last thing I'll say is just kind of an overall perspective on the game that did not come to fruition. But I'm sitting there watching the game and I'm thinking, if I knew nothing about these teams, I would think I'm watching a top 5 team in the country playing a top 20 team in the country. Like there's some separation there, not decidedly, overtly, but noticeably. Okay. Because I can't really think of any department of football that I thought Miami got beat consistently, where Miami owned certain aspects of the game. Like everything was even was either a dominant check mark in Miami's box, or it was a lean. It was a lean in Miami's direction. I can't think of anything that was really a Notre Dame other than CJ Carr ran for yardage and Carson Beck didn't, but he didn't need to really. But after the tight end play, 65 yards down the field, and Walla, 2 plays later, it's 24 all. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, if they I even posted this on Twitter. I said, if Miami loses this game, I don't know how in the world this happened. Like, this is going to be a bad loss because this would have been stolen.
Yeah, I said it. Manny Navarro from The Athletic said the same thing. Yeah, that would have been a disaster class. Like, I tweeted, I said, if Miami loses this game, this goes on Mario Cristobal's forever record of a peak failure. And of course, after the game, everybody's, retweeting, and I quoted it again. Said, and this also goes on the all-time record because we won the game, that we found. But like in that scenario moment, this game shouldn't have been close. Like, it really shouldn't have been. You go and score when you're up 21-7. Like, this game was on the precipice of a boat racing. Like, it was on the precipice of 38-14-ish, like extrapolating out from the middle of the third quarter to the end. If you score there, you're on a quick, trip to blowout town. And yeah, then all of a sudden you find yourself tied and you're like, yeah, what in the world? Like, yeah, there was, some things to clean up. But it also, in spite of anything exterior with the referees, credit to Notre Dame. That is a team that fights. That is a team that doesn't give up. That is a team that plays all the way through 60 minutes. This is what we've said. This is what, Trevor said. This is what Brian, I believe his name is, previously said. Like, we know, and we've seen this team in the national championship game. They fight hard. They do not give up. You have to beat them. And, Miami found a way to do that. But yeah, this showed the fortitude that program has.
And this is the reason I picked Notre Dame. Even though the 2 check boxes I put in the favor of Miami playing at home with a veteran quarterback and what I believe to be a top 5 to 10 quarterback in the nation. And now I think that's more confirmed. I went the route of, again, Mario Cristobal and staff. I gave the coaching lean to Marcus Freeman and his staff, but that has to be reassessed now. But I gave it going into this game to Marcus Freeman and his staff, and also just a battle-tested group. They beat Penn State and Georgia back-to-back weeks in the playoffs last year. And then, even though in a very similar way, they got completely outplayed by Ohio State, they scratched and clawed their way back in the game in much the same way. And so that battle-tested nature of Notre Dame caused me to lean in that direction.
Understandable.
So, yeah. And then we didn't mention the kicker. So they trot out the kicker, Carter Davis, for the first one where they botched the snap. And I see the stats where I'm thinking, okay, they picked up Bert Auburn, who is no exceptional kicker, but he's got a decent track record of like close to 75%. I think he's a career 75% kicker, somewhere in that range. And they're showing this guy's stats at FAU at 4 for 11. And I'm like, well, I wasn't there at camp, of course, in August, but he must have really beaten him out. And then he came through.
Yeah. Bert Auburn. Yeah. He was buoyed the first 2 years, 81% and then 83%. Last year, only 64% on field goals, 16 out of 25. I don't have the list of them in front of me, but definitely had the yips a little bit for Texas. And then, tried to come here and win that job. And Carter Davis, this is a kid who really just wanted and needed a chance. He's in the same class as Andres Borregales in high school. They went to all the same camps, whether it's Cole's kicking, whether it's Corn Blue kicking, whether it's football hotbed. And Borregales was more skilled. But at all of these camps, as a high school player, Carter Davis won the long leg or the strongest leg competition easily. Goes to JUCO, goes to FAU, and everything. And it's really just, if you're an X-Men fan, like original X-Men, it's like Cyclops when he got injured, and before the goggles, and it's all this power that's coming out of it's just I have all the power in the world. I have no control over it. That's Carter Davis as a kicker. But then he comes here and he's talked about the process being cleaner, cleaning up some things with his footsteps and his targeting of where he's kicking the ball. And they trust him. Look, if Miami gives up a kick return, not a kick return touchdown, a kick return this year, like, I will be surprised. This kid was kicking them into the stands literally on kickoffs. So yeah, he went out there, hit the first 38-yarder. I hated playing for the 47-yard field goal with a new kicker who I've only seen him once because they fumbled the first snap. Ice in his veins. Everybody says, look, he hits them from 55 in practice. Cristobal said he's hit at least 2 63-yarders. Asked about it after the game. Carter Davis said, my job is to go kick. So they line the ball up and I kick it and I make it. You got a fan in me, Carter Davis. Like, literally, that's all he had to say. I just love the mentality. But yeah, him going out and doing that definitely was a little surprising. But if he's able to be the kind of accurate that we saw with one of the strongest legs I've ever seen, that changes some things. And shout out to him. Shout out to all of the special teams unit and everything, the coaches, and just getting him more, developed to the place where he won the job. And Carter Davis was very transparent. And, after the game, he said, look, I cried when they told me I won the kicking job competition. And I love that because I'm a fan of transparency and vulnerability, but also it shows that he cares. You know what I mean? Like, and you need to have that always. Paulo with a great question. Defense was smart in staying disciplined in their assignments. D-line stayed in their gaps until they were allowed to get aggressive in the end. Yeah. And this is what all the coaches who have been at Miami have said. I remember Mark Richt specifically, when talking about swagger, he said, swagger is beating the man in front of you. And then, you can make a play. Like, that's what this means. And this is the embodiment of it. Now, I know Mark Richt was not coach here recently and things like that. But when you go do your job, you can stay in your lane, right? And it allows everybody to do their job because I'm winning at edge. Buddy next to me is winning inside. Haven't even mentioned David Blay. Haven't even mentioned 5-star Justin Scott, right? And I did mention Ahmad Moten, but like
forced fumble, right? Justin Scott.
Huge forced fumble, But like, you go to Chicago and you get 2 years ago, you get 5-star Justin Scott, cool, plays, forced fumble. You get 5-star Marquise Lightfoot, who made multiple plays, didn't really impact the stat sheet, but on an early scramble, where Ruben Bain got inside so quickly that he was surprised and whiffed on CJ Carr. He was like, oh my God, I'm already here. And then Carr ran to his left and threw the ball away. Who was the one chasing him down and had him boxed in the sideline? Marquise Lightfoot in a pass rush situation early in the game and then throughout the game. So you go and you get those 5 stars. And I loved it. Gabby Rudia found these tweets from 2023 from multiple Notre Dame accounts with edits of Justin Scott in their jersey, imploring him to come to Notre Dame. We want Justin Scott. Da, 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 da. I get that you wanted him, but he's here now. He's making plays again. That's how you keep a foothold in these national recruiting enclaves for Miami, right? Because everybody in Chicago, you're a 90-minute drive from South Bend. I know because I went there in 2016 and I made that drive from Chicago to South Bend for that game that we lost to the 4-8 Irish that year. So it's a national program, but it's a regional local program to Chicago. But you got 2 guys from there making plays against them. Boom, bang. I love to see it. So, it was a really great job. And they whipped Notre Dame's offensive line something serious. I did not see that coming. I thought it was going to be much more even between the play of both offensive lines. Miami's offensive line, from what we saw on Sunday, is on a different level than Notre Dame's. They are not in the same tier right now. And I've said it on here. I thought it was 1 and 2 on offensive line. They are not in Miami's caliber of offensive line from what we saw. And that also improves, my outlook of the defensive line. Leroy, happened to JoJo Trader. JoJo Trader, 1 target, no catches. I know that people, he played, and everybody's saying, yeah, he's good to go and everything. He's battling a little bit of a nagging something from camp. And that's just from my eyeballs seeing him move pregame, in the game and everything. There's a little bit of a half of a hitch in his giddy up. And also Notre Dame secondary is really, really good. You put him on the outside against bigger corners and things like that. Like, that wasn't necessarily an advantage. But I think that he's going to eventually be healthy and he's going to play well, in the opportunities against, again, teams who are not as skilled in the secondary as Notre Dame. But he was out there, he's playing, but I think that he has some good football in front of him. Falconer, Beck's postgame showed he is full cane, not in a, oh yeah. Yeah, he's fully bought in here. I mean, if you watch all the on-field interviews of him, crying in joy and just like finally being back on the field and playing with a team that loves him and he loves. Who was somebody? I forget who it was, but I tweeted about it in post-game pressers. They call, I think it's CJ Daniels, calls him the general. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, when the general gets out here, like I was like, and he said it so many times. I was like, oh, he's talking about Carson, but like. Bro, you got nicknames like that. You got defensive players waiting around to celebrate with the quarterback like that. Yeah, man. Like he's part of this program. It's not just, there is a mercenary element because like, yeah, he's getting paid in NIL and but like he's integrated into the fabric of this team in a really, really great way.
And I never thought about it until now, and it seems obvious to me. There has to be a fairly high level of confidence to step in after Cam Ward leaves, to go to a program and think, okay, I'm going to have to really deliver because I'm not following some schlup where I can say, hey, I'm saving the world. I'm a hero and I'm going to be a huge upgrade.
Yeah.
The comparison's there.
Yeah. But I mean, also look at what he did in 2023. And he's like, okay, all of the things.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a better offensive line. And he had, he's knitting sweaters and, writing great American novels in the pocket before throwing the ball, right? The run game is going to be infinitely better in support also. So offensive line, run game, and as much talent as a minimum as they had at receiver at Georgia, and depending on how they perform, probably better performance because they're not dropping the ball all the goddamn time. I'm in a good situation if I'm Carson Beck. So yeah, it was but yeah, you definitely have to consider. I mean, I think there was maybe a little bit of consideration following Cam Ward, but again, Carson Beck being the best Carson Beck that Carson Beck can be is a good enough Carson Beck for me. Leroy, the Black Ninja Turtle, if we win the state of Florida in September, what would that do in recruiting? I mean, the win against Notre Dame was already a big positive in recruiting. There were 200-300 recruits there. Calvin Russell's best friend in the world is Malachi Tony. So he's there supporting his, good best friend. We'll see what happens there. Anthony Tank Jones from Alabama. I forget where he's committed right now, but 5-star defensive lineman. Oh, hey, just popped up for a visit to the game. All righty then, we will take that. I thought maybe that was recruitment that was settled science. Maybe not. Maybe there's some ongoing experiments that we'll see. James Johnson, the number 1 defensive tackle in America, from Fort Myers, who's transferred to Miami Northwestern, also there for that. And so you can now put on the field the representation of what the plan is. You saw Justin Scott. He was a 5-star defensive tackle 2 years ago. That's what we can do for you. True sophomore, starting the game, making plays, forcing a fumble. I mean, and I'm not even going to talk about the fact that we didn't score on that drive because that was the missed field goal attempt. But early drive, cookies, get that turnover, turn that into 7. That's another, there were points to be had out there. And shout out to Notre Dame because they're a quality team and they didn't allow themselves to get boat raced. But like you can go to James Johnson and say, like, just point, like, Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man. Like he was you as a recruit 2 years ago. Come and join him for his junior year, your freshman year, and follow that same trajectory. This is the blueprint. This is what teams do. Do you think that randomly, independently, all of those receivers go to O State? Do you think randomly, independently, all these guys go to Georgia, Clemson, Alabama, LSU? No. They put proof positive on the field. Miami did that. And yes, to Leroy's point, if you go out and dominate and win these games, you got Bethune-Cookman this Saturday night. I do not think it's going to be a packed house because it's Bethune-Cookman, but it'll be a good crowd. But you got USF after that, tough little team that runs a spread, but you should dispatch them. Florida the week after that, potential game day game like we're talking about. Yeah, all of those things would be very positive in the world of recruiting, so I want them to keep it up.
All right, folks.
Ibrahim F. Luke Holtz, F. Brady Quinn, Kane's baby. True. Charles Johnson had a couple things to say about CJ Carr looking better than some other quarterbacks Notre Dame has had recently. FSU Gnome saying game day and tally for the Miami game. That's another potential option, especially another rivalry game in week 6 if both teams hold serve or are in that kind of range. It's on the table. We need to get there, but we shall see. Clemson let the ACC down. Honestly did. If Clemson, and this is the thing that Rob Weaver wrote about these games, the Clemson LSU game was the number 1 game on his list, by the way, of the top 10 games that ACC needed to win in non-conference to elevate the standing. Florida State, surprise, sorpresa. They win that one. Miami handled business, and the numbers came out during the game. The highest viewed game of the weekend. It was, where's the number? It just went away. 10.8 million. So the top 3 teams splitting the ACC revenue. Miami at 10.8 million against Notre Dame, Florida State 10.7 against Alabama, and then Clemson 10.4 million average viewers against LSU. This is why we're going to this kind of revenue split. But the big brands are the brands, and I know that we're playing other big brands, but those are big, huge numbers for college football teams, and the University of Miami on top. But yeah, had Clemson won that game, buddy. That would have been interesting. Falconer, UF is an easy win. I'm now concerned about FSU. I urge you to pump the brakes. I would love to take things a week at a time. Geocane, do they, I believe you're talking about last year, does Notre Dame beat Georgia with Beck? I don't know. With the way that the whole team played, I think it would have been a close game. Carson Beck talked about the pain of having to watch that game. And he said, and in preparing for this game to open the season, like, dude, I did all the, I was there, but I wasn't playing. I watched all the film. I was in all the meetings and basically watching Gunnar Stockton, not as skilled an operator on the field, go through the game. He's just like, you can't help but think of yourself on that field making those plays. And that were there to be made. Yeah.
What was the most watched game of week 1? I just looked it up.
In the ACC.
Okay.
In the ACC.
Ohio State, Texas, according to this article on 3, was the most watched game of week 1 in history.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they did generational numbers.
At noon.
Yeah. Juan Manuel, hope you talk to Brian Driscoll. I don't know, we will. But I don't think that neither Brian nor Trevor were disrespectful. I don't think that they were outlandish in their takes. I really enjoyed talking to both of them. I understood where they were coming from. I understood why, in a marginal call, they leaned towards their team, just like I leaned towards ours. But I don't think it was crazy. And honestly, I just think that we played above what I think all of us thought. Again, I thought that the offensive line matchup was about even. It was not. AJ, good to see you, bro. Yo, imagine a world where Miami, FSU, and UF all make the playoffs, and USF could be in too. USF could not because they played both Florida and us, and they're not going to win either of those games, and they're probably going to drop another game along the way. But if the big three are pushing towards postseason football, that would probably be great. But I mean, I would love the other two to be, pulling up the caboose as Miami leads the way. Geez, I'm trying to get out of here, but there's so many good comments. I love this from you guys. And before I read this one, be sure that you like and subscribe because, like what we're doing because, we're doing it, and subscribe so you can see the next times that we do it. How ridiculous is it that on Twitter from Anthony Manzano, a certain group of Notre Dame fans are saying the only reason why Miami won this game was not because of how well we played, but the referees gave us calls. That's shenanigans. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like the referees weren't getting blocked into oblivion. The referees didn't, lose the turnover battle 2-0. Notre Dame's team did. You know what I mean? The referees didn't allow 2 passing touchdowns on 2 great plays and incredible catches. Notre Dame's defense did. You know what I mean? The referees didn't run for, barely 3 yards of carry outside of, 4 decent runs. Notre Dame did. So like, yeah. So, and with as many calls that went against Miami, and the same call or worse was not called against Notre Dame. In the end, I get that it was 6-5 in penalties. Notre Dame players, and there's multiple videos of this, grabbed JoJo Trader by the face mask and yanked him up off the ground and punched him in front of the referee in the middle of the field. No call. Multiple times. It's on film. Go and watch it. So to sit here and say, oh, well, yeah, the referees had no. And I know that 2 or 3 of the penalties were intentional grounding on the quarterback, but yeah.
We've got to head for the exits. We can
I'm going to go
this one
very, very quickly. JoJo contributed tremendously in blocking. Mark Cristobal stopped himself from an early answer in the post-game presser, literally in the middle of a thought. He was like, well, I'm going to wait. The receivers blocked their asses off. Like, literally. And if you go back and watch, they definitely did. Tank is committed to Oregon. Thank you, Anthony Manzano. Remember Beck trash talk all summer? I do, but that is gone, and that is pretty much it. So I know that we got to get out of here. And when you leave, you can go to stateoftheu.com. Please come over and fan with us. We have tons and tons of great stuff. We have even more great stuff coming. We have a matchup of the week. We have Dear JD, where he gives you some life advice. I've written a bunch of stuff, Craig T. Smith, and we have a great crew, and we're putting up even more stuff. Stateoftheu.com is the website. Please come over and fan with us. Interact with the feed, interact with the articles, leave your comments. Like and subscribe for this. Sorry I went a little bit over, but there was so much to talk about. We will be back after Miami beats Bethune-Cookman and look ahead to USF.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.